Okay, hey guild. So making a really quick video explaining the new mechanics for the two boss fights. It's coming out Wednesday night, so that's the 24th for NA, and then for EU and every other part of the world, it would be your Thursday morning. But we're just gonna really quickly go through it. So the two bosses, Sentinel, Howlion, and then Death of the Governor boss. I don't know forgot what it's called, but we're gonna talk about the Sentinel Howlion. So the major mechanic for this one, the most important mechanic, is kind of like with the Everdeer boss fight, where we have to make sure the lantern's staying alight. In this case, it's a giant fucking sun. Don't let the sun get killed. The sun dies, raid wipe. Very simple, right? So if you're the tank, ideally position yourself so that the boss isn't even close to the sun, or try your best, right? That's the first important major mechanic. If sun dies, we die. Very simple. Second major mechanic is two people at a certain point will get periodically targeted, and I'll call it out, but get targeted with a yellow AoE. But this yellow AoE is interesting because it's not actually one that damages you. And if it does, it's very easily avoidable. It actually leaves behind a portal. And so because there's two people that are, getting targeted with this portal, if you interact with one portal, you go to the other portal. So it's two anchors, right? And the reason why this mechanic is so important is because it introduces a third mechanic where the boss will summon 3 giant meteors to fall to the ground at very specific locations. And these giant meteors, when they land, need to be destroyed. And so what's going to happen, so you see right here, 3 giant yellow AoE circles. At the end of it, these meteors will get placed. And it's really important because after that, the boss will target one of 2 people. He'll either target the tank or he'll target the furthest player away from the boss. So maybe like a healer or something like that, right? Maybe. The important thing is that if you are targeted, you need to stand behind one of these rocks in line so that you're, breaking line of sight with the boss, so that the boss charges at you, because it will charge at you. It'll run into the rock. If it runs into the rock blows up. That's what we want, okay? And we want 2 of these 3 rocks to get blown up. And if not, we're gonna get a bunch of a shit ton of raid-wide damage. I think the video had said that if 2 of the rocks are still left standing by the end of this mechanic, it's pretty much a raid wipe. I think that's what they said. I don't think it's actually raid wipe, but it's like really close. So in other words, let's just not worry ourselves with that issue. Okay, so just to be clear, if you're targeted, stand behind the rock. And then this is really important, right? That's why those portals that I was talking about earlier are really important, because after you break one rock, you can take the portal to get to the next rock relatively quickly. So the 2 people who are targeted with the portal mechanic, make sure that they're. I'll put markers to indicate like where they should be standing, but just stand in one of the 2 locations. You should be okay, and we'll be fine for the portal placement. This is a mechanic where he will breathe yellow AoE fire. And what the video says is, and it's a pretty big yellow AoE. If you get caught in that, you die. So just avoid like the plague. That one's pretty simple. There is another mechanic where you will see. So actually, right here, I think the boss, it'll showcase that the boss is going to run into the rock right here. So you see, right, the boss ran into the rock, and the rock is now gone. And then so we just need to make sure 2 of the 3. But okay, so an important thing here is another mechanic. It will create a it'll start sucking everyone in with like this like black hole sort of thing. Let me make sure it does it. I think it's, yeah, okay, here we go. So sorry, let me showcase. So yeah, right here during this mechanic, it's pulling everyone into it. And so this is kind of where, if you're the tank, make sure that you're standing by one of the portals when this mechanic is going down. And I'll call it out, but the point is that it's going to slowly pull everyone in, and towards the end of this mechanic, it's going to do massive damage to where if you're still caught in it, you're pretty much cooked. Like you can see the tank's already basically dead, or at least the bot would be dead here. And yeah, look at that damage, right? So at the end of this, kaboom, And obviously this is AI, but everyone, or, you know, most of these people are dead. Most of them are dead, right? Most of these bots. So we need to make sure that we stand by a portal so that when this happens, outside of the tank, who can probably survive with like constant heals, everyone needs to take the portal to dip away outside of the AoE, and then we'll be fine. So that one's pretty simple. And then the final mechanic, which is kind of crazy, is the boss will summon mini meteors to fall from the sky. And these mini meteors can, in fact, be picked up. And the important thing is that these mini meteors do a lot of damage, not necessarily to the people, but to the sun in particular, okay? So I think the guide said that there's 6 of these meteors, so basically half of us need to pick up these meteors and then just bring them to the edge so that the giant yellow AoE doesn't hit the sun. Pretty simple on that front. But it is a lot, right? It's a lot of simple mechanics, so everyone's got to pick it up, and then you'll see right here, it'll activate these meteors, and it just needs to be good enough. Now, at a certain point towards the end of the fight, and then there's something where you can deflect. I mean, just deflect that, we're fine. Towards the end of the fight, the sun, right here, so it's a new, like, final phase, right, where it's summoning a gigantic fucking meteor. But the important thing is when this meteor lands, the sun becomes a yellow lion, like fucking Lion King, where it's Mufasa versus Scar. And so we just need to, they're gonna fight each other, but we gotta fight the blue lion, and then you gotta pick up these like small mini suns, because if you do, you get more I think you get buffs for like damage output and like HP output for yourselves. So basically DPS, pick up the suns, then we fight the boss dies. Woo. Okay, so that's basically it. So it's a lot of small it's a very busy fight. It's a very busy fight compared to Everdeer. Everdeer is actually pretty calm now that we've run it a couple times, but this one's definitely a lot busier. So I'd say just kind of remember a couple of things. Most important, just keep the sun alive. If you're targeted with portals, please make sure that the 2 people targeted with portals are standing pretty far away from each other so that we can interact with it. And I'll mark it on the map with like the area markers and stuff. And then third mechanic that you probably need to remember is when we get these little mini meteors, pick them up, put them to the edge. We'll be okay. All right, that's it for this video. And then we'll talk about the second boss. This is Death of the Governor.